For spine-chilling true Uber horror stories, sinister encounters revealed, cursed riders exposed. The night settled over the quiet suburbs of Chicago like a heavy blanket, thick with anxiety and untold secrets. Jenna wiped the sweat from her forehead, gripping the steering wheel of her car as she glanced down at the latest notification on her phone, another rider. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever might come next. Late nights on the road had offered her a sense of control, an escape from the shadows lurking within her mind. Little did she know, those shadows were closing in. As she navigated the familiar, yet eerie streets, Jenna recalled the stories she had heard. Drivers disappearing, passengers turning up missing, rumors of a real-life urban legend, the Uber hitchhiker. The thought clawed at her sanity, but she pushed it aside. She had bills to pay and a son to care for. The chill creeping up her spine was just nerves, wasn't it? Then came the night that changed everything. After a grueling shift, her phone pinged in warning just as she parked. "Marcus," it said. The driver who slid into the back seat was charming, disarming even, but there was something unsettling about the way he spoke. His eyes glinted in the rearview mirroring secrets he shouldn't know. "You're a single mom, right? It must be tough juggling it all." Her heart skipped. How could he know her struggles? With every story he spun about horror rides, her doubt festered. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The laughter faded as Marcus leaned in closer, sharing dark tales of single mom riders who never made it home, or worse. He spoke of an Uber driver gone rogue, targeting those vulnerable enough to trust the man behind the wheel. Jenna's heart raced, cold sweat dripping down her back. The casual facade of her suburban life cracked, revealing a chasm of fear that pulled her in. Days turned into nightmares. As news of vanished passengers spread like wildfire, a paralyzing panic gripped her. She'd pass familiar faces at the grocery store, but they felt different. Eyes darting in recognition, whispers following her. Was her community merely watching her unravel? She clutched her son closer each day, desperate for the safety of his presence. When the unthinkable happened, her world shattered. He slipped away during an innocent trip to the corner store, a simple errand that morphed into an unspeakable horror. Jenna's heart pounded in her chest like a war drum as she raced through the darkness, searching every corner, feeling the shadows close in. Time gnawed at her, devouring hope day by day, but there he was again, Marcus, his smile twisted into something terrifying. The darkness of her neighborhood unfurled, unveiling the terrifying connections. She grappled with dread. Was he a part of it? Jenna faced a growing web of deceit. With her son's life hanging in the balance, she needed answers before the darkness enveloped everything she held dear. Would she claim her child and uncover the truth, or vanish into the very shadows that haunted her? Jenna's breath came in shallow gasps as the night air thickened around her. The streetlights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced in her peripheral vision. The weight of fear pushed down on her chest, making each heartbeat feel like an echo of impending doom. Marcus's words rang in her mind, a sinister laugh intertwining with the dark thoughts that haunted her. With her heart pounding wildly, she stumbled backward, only to find herself met by the cold gaze of Marcus. He stood only a few feet away, an unsettling calm enveloping him. "Looking for something?" he taunted, his grin widening, revealing teeth that seemed too white against the darkness. Jenna's instincts screamed at her to run, but her legs felt glued to the concrete beneath her. You're not supposed to be here," she stammered, her voice trembling. How could he be watching her, lurking just beyond the thin veil of her existence? "I took my son." "I can't what?" He interrupted smoothly, stepping closer, invading her personal space. Can't let him go? Or can't admit that you lost him just like all the others? The remaining light seemed to dim around them as the world shrank to the space between them, a chasm of dread filled with all the horror Jenna could imagine. She thought of her son's sweet little Tyler. Was he really safe, or was he already caught in the web Marcus seemed to weave so effortlessly? Where is he? Jenna's voice was strained, but she held on to a thread of bravado despite the paralyzing fear coiling in her gut. She searched his darkened face for any sign of honesty, but all she found was amusement. Those mothers believe they can keep their children safe. They are the ones who thought they were invulnerable. What's a little trust worth when disaster lurks around every corner? His voice dripped with mockery, echoing in Jenna's mind like a twisted mantra. Her surroundings felt as if they were shifting, breathing. The trees loomed taller, leaning closer, as if eavesdropping on their conversation. She needed to get away, to escape this nightmare that merged her reality with some dark fairy tale gone wrong. As Marcus flashed unsettling glances over her shoulder, something in Jenna snapped. Fear morphed into anger, igniting a fire inside her. She turned, sprinting wildly into the night, her feet pounding on the pavement. She had to find Tyler. The frantic pounding of her heart matched each frantic footstep as she scanned street after street, tears blurring her vision. Suddenly, a chilling roar erupted from behind her, a car, tires screeching against the asphalt. Panic surged through her veins as she risked a glance back and discovered two black SUVs creeping closer, their headlights cutting through the dark like voracious predators. "No! No!" she yelled, the pitch of her voice trembling. She veered down an alley, desperate. Her mind raced a million miles a minute. Were these his allies? Was he even now planning the worst for Tyler? Shadows danced at the edges of her vision, and she felt the oppressive weight of being hunted. With every step deeper into the alley, she thought of her child. How far would she go to save him? Would she sacrifice her own sanity in a world where shadows knew her name? The alley opened up, revealing a vacant lot with a single flickering light. There, at its center, stood a figure. A small boy, hunched low. Tyler? Hope soared, blocking the darkness threatening to engulf her, only to crash back down into despair. It couldn't be, could it? Tyler! Jenna shouted, racing forward, but just as she reached for him, the light flickered out completely, plunging her into an unrelenting darkness. The silence swallowed her scream, and as she felt a cold grip tighten around her wrist from behind, a voice hissed in her ear, "You're too late." He's already chosen. As the weight of the shadows embraced her, Jenna knew that the fight for her son was far from over. But what awaited her in that darkness? Would she find Tyler or become another victim of the horrors that lurked just out of view? Jenna's heart raced as the grip around her wrist tightened. The voice that whispered in her ear sent icy tendrils of fear creeping down her spine. Each breath felt like shards of glass, sharp and labored. She twisted in the dark, trying to break free, but the more she struggled, the tighter the grip became. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice barely a whisper, filled with desperation. There was no reply, just a heavy silence, suffocating and pregnant with malice. She felt her mind teetering on the edge of panic. It couldn't end like this. Not now. Suddenly, the grip loosened, and Jenna stumbled forward. She gasped for breath, blinking against the oppressing darkness. The familiar flickering light had vanished entirely, leaving only shadows swirling around her like a storm. "Tyler," she shouted into the void, the name escaping her lips like a prayer. A rustle sounded to her right, and she turned sharply, eyes straining to pierce through the blackness. Had she imagined it? No. There it was again, soft footsteps padding lightly on the ground, almost hesitant. "Tyler? Mom?" A small voice pleaded from somewhere within the darkness. Hope surged anew, making her heart race even faster. It was him. But as quickly as it came, doubt crept in again. "Tyler, where are you?" "Over here." The voice was faint, tinged with an unsettling echo, as if it were coming from beyond a thick curtain she couldn't see. Jenna pushed through the shadows, straining to catch sight of her son. Each step was a battle against the fear clawing at her chest. Suddenly, a shape emerged nearby, a shadow outlined against the dim light of the distant street. It was a child, seemingly hunched, but as she approached, the figure stretched upward, the outline sharpening into something terrifying. The small child was not Tyler. It was a grotesque mannequin, face painted with a smile that felt terribly wrong. "Welcome," it croaked, moving stiffly. "Welcome to the waiting game." Jenna recoiled, her pulse racing. This wasn't just a game. It was the thing Marcus had hinted at, some twisted version of a nightmare where children were pawns. "I'm not playing," she shouted, her voice echoing, sharp against the soft whispers in the wind. Drumming footsteps began to surround her, a suffocating rhythm of dread. Glimpses of distorted shadows danced just out of reach, forms that taunted, always just beyond the flickering halo of light that had once filled the vacant lot. The alley had become a maze of clashing fears. "Mom, please," the real Tyler's voice broke through again, but it sounded different this time, more distant, as if he were trapped in another dimension. "Mom, help me. Where are you?" she screamed, desperation creeping back in. It clawed at her mind like claws on raw flesh. She felt her world shrivel with each moment wasted. "Find the light," a whisper floated nearby. Pervasive, disembodied, it filled her ears with a chilling urgency. "Or lose him forever." Jenna turned blindly, grasping at phantoms, searching the eerily moving shadows. Panic surged as the sounds of footfalls amplified around her. If she didn't move, if she didn't find him, what would happen to Tyler? The darkness seemed to laugh, mocking her fear with mischievous echoes. Just ahead, she remembered seeing something, a sliver of illumination, an escape. It was fading quickly. "No! I'm coming, Tyler." She lunged toward the flicker, the shadows billowing like clouds of uncertainty. But the light was vanishing, flickering out of existence as she chased it, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Just as the last glow shimmered out, she felt a hot breath against her neck, a warning, a promise, or perhaps a threat. "You're not alone, Jenna." In that moment, she realized that the shadows weren't just hunting her. They were inviting her into the fold, into their dark embrace, waiting for her to succumb to the horrific choices that lay ahead. Suddenly, Jenna heard a laugh, Marcus's laugh, echoing through the engulfing darkness. "Next time, don't run, Jenna. It makes the game much more enjoyable." Was this a game she could win? Desperation tightened its grip around her heart, lost in that creeping dread. Would she find Tyler before it was too late, or had she already fallen into his trap? As the shadows loomed larger, Jenna knew one thing for certain: she had to fight for her son, even if it meant walking straight into the depths of hell itself. Jenna stumbled, almost losing her balance as the darkness clawed at her heels. The silence enveloped her like a thick fog, disorienting and unsettling. She took a deep breath, steadied herself, and willed her heart to stop racing so violently. Fear twisted in her stomach like a knife. "Tyler!" she shouted again, desperation igniting her voice. The shadows seemed to pulse around her, hungry and unstable, as if they were alive, consumed by her dread. "Mom, I need you." The voice was more coherent now, clearer, drawing Jenna further into the abyss. She pressed on, searching, hoping, yet the ground felt unstable, shifting under her feet. She reached out, fingers brushing against what felt like cold metal. Panic surged anew. Was it another mannequin, another trick? She yanked her hand back and squinted into the dark, her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Something shifted behind her, a rush of air that sent chills cascading down her spine. Terrified, Jenna turned. The shadows converged, morphing into darker shapes, whispering her name. "Jenna," they echoed, mocking her desperate longing. "Stop it!" she screamed, clutching her head as if to drown out their taunts. "This isn't real. Where is my son?" A flash of movement caught her eye. She turned, but it slipped away, igniting a spark of panic. No. Not again. She took off running, lunging toward the last remnants of light, which blinked weakly like a dying star. She could barely breathe. Find the light or lose him forever, the whisper slithered through her mind again. In that moment, determination ignited. She wasn't losing Tyler. The light became her singular focus, a beacon of hope amidst the churning despair. At last, she broke through a wall of shadows, stumbling into a small clearing. Her chest heaved with the exertion, but there it was, a flickering street lamp, weak and flickering, cutting through the oppressive darkness. The light cast wavering shadows that twisted, danced, and morphed into the hard shapes of nightmares. Tyler! She called, her voice rising with a new vigor. A glimmer of movement captured her attention near the base of the lamp. Was it him? Desperate hope clashed with dread as she stepped forward. Mom! The cry was clear, piercing the veil of darkness surrounding her. But before she could fully grasp the source, a figure emerged. It wasn't Tyler. The face was pallid and smeared, reminiscent of the mannequin that had mocked her, a cruel smile stretching across its lips. It was another twisted form of her nightmare, like a marionette brought to life. You didn't choose wisely, it croaked, the smile widening, devoid of warmth. He's waiting. Jenna's breath hitched. What do you mean? Where is he? The creature pointed behind her into the shadows, its finger unnaturally elongated, beckoning her back into the dark. He can't find the light without you, know. She recoiled. You're lying. Am I? A chilling laugh joined the whispering shadows. It shifted closer, and Jenna felt its cold breath against her skin. Why not give him a little help? Sickened by its presence, Jenna turned, rushing back to where she thought she had left the warmth of light. The lamp flickered ominously, shadows closing in like a tidal wave of darkness. Tyler! She screamed, panic surging anew. The shadows laughed, cruel and mocking, twirling around her. Every heartbeat drowned in despair, and the ground began to quiver beneath her feet. In a haze of fear, she dashed back toward the flickering light, her only hope. But then she felt it, something binding her ankles, cold and unyielding. This isn't a game anymore. She shouted defiantly, pulling against whatever had ensnared her, but the laughter only intensified, wrapping around her like chains. Suddenly, she glimpsed another flicker, off in the distance, an escape, but as she reached out, the ground groaned beneath her. The shadows pulled tighter. Jenna's breath quickened. Tyler! Dread clawed at her sanity, and she felt the weight of her dark fate pressing down. The dark laughter became a chorus, echoing around her, and just before everything went black, she heard his voice. A faint whisper, fragile but unwavering. Help me! As the shadows swallowed her whole, Jenna realized the true game had only just begun and she was running out of time. What lay beyond the darkness? Was it salvation or ruin? Would she ever find her son, or would she join the countless lost souls in this twisted nightmare? Jenna's scream echoed back at her, swallowed by the consuming darkness. The moment the shadows engulfed her, a deafening silence took over. It was a silence so thick she could almost feel it pressing against her skin, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Panic rose within her, clawing up her throat. Where was Tyler? A sudden coldness wrapped around her. It felt like icy fingers tracing her spine, and she shivered, unable to shake the sensation. She fought her eyes open, forcing herself to see through the darkness. Tyler! She croaked, her voice softer now, coated with despair. But all she received in return was the taunting echo of her own words. The shadows shifted, morphing around her. Jenna stumbled forward, each step uncertain. Then, as if responding to her anguish, a pale light flickered in the distance. Weak but inviting. She took a breath, steadying herself. Keep moving, she whispered, her own voice fueling her resolve. The light grew, illuminating the shapes around her. Warped figures swayed and danced, their movements grotesque, mocking. One of them approached, the familiar resemblance of a child looming from the shadows. Her heart thrust into her throat. Tyler? Mom. The voice was eerily distant, yet it pierced through her like a dagger. Jenna dashed toward the sound, but the figure melted away, dissolving back into the dark as quickly as it had formed. Where are you? She panicked. I'm coming. Each step knocked her against this unseen barrier. She could almost feel their sneers, their enjoyment as they toyed with her. Just give up, Jenna, they hissed, their laughter warm against her skin. It felt wrong, there was no joy in that laughter, only cruelty. You'll never reach him. No. She yelled, shaking her head vehemently. I won't stop. I'll find him. The flickering light shifted again, revealing a narrow path through the darkness. It beckoned her forward, promising escape. Hands trembling, she pushed through the shadows, her heart pounding like a drum, a wild rhythm of terror. Mom! Help me! Tyler's voice rang clear again. It was stronger now, filled with urgency and desperation. She pressed on, but the shadows thickened, clawing at her skin, wrapping around her arms and legs like elastic bands, pulling her back into their embrace. No more games. She screamed against their grip, fighting to keep moving. She could feel Tyler's fear, hear his cries echoing through the shadows, and it tore at her resolve. With a final burst of strength, she ripped herself free, propelled by primal instinct. The light was almost within reach. The ground shuddered beneath her. It felt alive. She pushed through and felt something different, warmth, a promise of salvation just in her grasp, but as she neared the light, the shadows reared back, twisting into a massive figure. It towered over her, the face indistinguishable from the darkness that surrounded it, eyes gleaming like twin coals. You think you can leave? It boomed, its voice deep and echoing. Jenna's blood ran cold, but she wouldn't relent. Where is Tyler? She demanded, her voice choking on terror yet fierce. It laughed, a sound that burrowed deep into her bones, cruel and pleasure-driven. He's close. But can you withstand the truth? What truth? She cried, desperation flooding her words. Sometimes, the ones we love, they make choices too. What if he has chosen to stay? The question hung heavy in the air, vibrating with uncertainty. Jenna's mind raced. Could Tyler have chosen to remain behind in the darkness? Would he abandon her too? Mom! His voice echoed, but now it was softer, weaving through the waves of darkness, almost pleading. Jenna felt the impending dread throb in her veins. The shadows pressed in, surrounding her, and she could almost see Tyler somewhere deep within them, lost but waiting. She hesitated, doubt gnawing at her heart. Choose wisely, Jenna. The figure taunted again, its breath hot and foul, torn between the flickering hope of light and the encroaching darkness that claimed her reason. She knew she had a decision to make. What lay ahead would either save her son or seal their fate forever. As the shadows curled around her tighter, she felt a chilling certainty creep over her. Whatever choice she made next could very well be her last. What was waiting in that light? Could it be a chance to save Tyler, or the ultimate deception lurking just beneath the surface? Jenna's heart raced in her chest as she stood frozen, the massive shadow towering above her. It felt as if the earth itself had turned against her, squeezing the hope from her very being. The cold dread settled deep within her stomach, twisting like a knife. Tyler, she whispered, desperation cracking her voice. What if he was lost to her forever? The creature shifted, a ripple of darkness they call itself, and with it came an echo of laughter, churning like smoke in the air. The truth is never as simple as you hope, Jenna. You think love conquers all? You're wrong. A shiver ran down her spine. Tell me where he is. She pleaded, her voice trembling yet defiantly fierce. Open your eyes, it hissed, the words dripping with a malevolent glee. Do you not see? Every choice has its consequence, and Tyler's wants are his own now. Perhaps he prefers the shadows over your light. The thought pierced her heart. Could Tyler have willingly vanished into the darkness? The realization was a weight upon her chest. He's just a child. He wouldn't leave me. The shadow loomed larger, pulsating with a life of its own. Not all children choose their parents, sometimes they choose the dark. With a surge of rage, Jenna took a step forward, fists clenched. You're lying. I know he's in there, and I will save him. Yet, that very determination felt like a thin thread, wavering in the gusts of doubt. Tyler's voice drifted through the shadows again, softer now, almost like a ghost. Mom, please no. She screamed, a raw note of anguish escaping her lips. I'm coming. I won't give up. But with each proclamation, the shadows pressed in closer, overwhelming her sanity. Their whispers reached her ears, seducing her with false promises, coaxing her to turn back. Jenna, your son is gone. Accept it. Fury burned in her veins, yet fear crept in, uninvited. The light flickered dimly behind her, uneasy, restless. Would stepping forth into the glow lead her to Tyler? Or would it plunge her deeper into the illusion crafted by the darkness? Don't let them deceive you, the shadow entity crooned, its voice a seductive undertone. Do you trust him enough to follow? Would he do the same for you? An image of Tyler flashed in her mind, his playful grin, the warmth of his hand in hers. She shook her head frantically, trying to clear her thoughts. He needs me. He would come for me. Yet as the shadows began to jockey around her, twisting and writhing in delight at her internal struggle, Jenna felt all sense of strength drain away. Her breath came quick and shallow. How could she save him if she didn't know where to look? Confronted with the encroaching darkness, she felt utterly alone, like she was drowning in a black ocean of despair. From the void, a flicker of light called to her, hauntingly familiar. Mom! Please! Tyler's voice erupted from the depths, a crescendo of desperation, pulling her towards the path she feared to take. Is this a trick? She murmured, eyes wide, glancing back at the shadow's gaping maw. The promise of light seemed to pulse with life, beckoning her closer. Only you can choose, Jenna. The entity's voice thundered, its patience waning. Will you rush toward a false promise, or will you stumble deeper, resigned to the reality of your choices? The memory of her son's laughter struck her like thunder, a jolt of pure adrenaline. She couldn't lose him to this hell. With a final glance back at the darkness and its predatory grasp, she summoned every ounce of courage left in her frail body. Tyler! She cried, voice laced with determination. I'm coming for you. In that moment, the lights flared, illuminating the crooked path stretching away from the shadows. But it was an uncertain path, deeply littered with memories and choices yet to come. What truths awaited her in that light? Just as she stepped forward, she felt an icy hand brush against her shoulder. Fear clawed at her heart once more, threatening to pull her back into the shadowed embrace. Jenna turned, breathing heavily, but the dark figure loomed closer. You will regret this, Jenna. The truth is rarely forgiving. With a thunderous roar, the shadows surged forth, and the air crackled with tension. What was hidden in the light? Could she survive the unmasking of truths she'd rather keep buried? As the darkness began to envelop her once more, she realized that this choice was the only one left. But one question echoed through her mind: what would she discover on the other side? The path transformed with a visceral shift, and the air grew heavy, thick with anticipation. Jenna felt the pulse of the light calling to her, urging her to step forward, even as shadows lunged, black fingers grasping for her, desperate to drag her back. Leave her. The dark whisper of the creature was a chilling hiss, slithering into her mind as she fought the impending dread. She is not worth saving. Gritting her teeth, Jenna pushed through the weight of fear. For Tyler, she whispered to herself, forcing her legs to move despite her trembling. The light flickered like a dying flame ahead, its warmth both inviting and ominous. Mom, please. Tyler's voice slipped through the haze, tinged with terror that twisted her gut. She quickened her pace, every footfall echoing her resolve against the horrific realities unraveling around her. The shadows behind her howled, a cacophony of laughter mixed with terrifying screams, their sounds swirling into an inescapable tempest. You cannot rescue him. Tyler remains with us. He has chosen this. Jenna felt her heart stutter, panic clawing at her throat. No. That's not true. She yelled, her voice barely piercing the sinister symphony. Each step was a battle, each breath a reminder of the chaos threatening to consume her, yet the light continued to pulse, flickering brighter, almost beckoning her in. Thoughts of Tyler flooded her mind, his laughter, the way he'd lean against her for safety. Was he truly lost? Would he really choose the darkness over her? The questions vibrated through her skull, each making the light seem ever more alluring and horrifying. As she pressed forward, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows recoiled momentarily, pushing her deeper into the light's embrace. Then the vision started, nightmares twisted with reality, flashing images burrowing into her mind, each one more grotesque than the last. She stumbled, gripping her temples against the onslaught of memories. She remembered nights spent searching for him, the endless worry, the whispers of the other parents who'd lost their children. She remembered how they spoke of being taken, the shadows lurking at night. Mom! Tyler's voice echoed through the chaos, sharper this time, more urgent. I'm afraid. No! She screamed, tears trailing down her cheeks as she felt the shadows circle her. I'm here, Ty. I'm coming. Suddenly, there was a scream from behind her, a haunting, echoing wail that caught in her throat and nearly shattered her resolve. Was that her voice? Or was it Tyler? The shadows surged, a tidal wave powerful enough to pull her under. Jenna screamed but then stopped short as eerie silence draped over her. In the void, she tried to focus, tried to navigate through the swirling vortex of despair. Then her eyes settled on something far out in the distance, a figure against the light. It took the shape of a child, swaying gently as if caught in a breeze. Tyler? Jenna's voice trembled. Is that you? Help me. The figure cried, a familiar tone escaping its lips that sliced through the din. Jenna lunged forward, heart pounding wildly. But just as she reached out, that chilling laughter engulfed her again, deep and menacing. The shadows pressed in, their cold breath wrapping around her limbs, squeezing tighter, whispering threats she couldn't comprehend. You cannot have him, Jenna. He is ours now. With each frayed thread of hope, Jenna felt the shadows pulling her apart, dragging her back into their suffocating embrace. Her vision swam, spiraling deeper into confusion as she fought against the bond binding her to this wretched place. Help me. The plaintive cry came again, this time laced with desperation that shattered Jenna's heart. Mom! Please. The light flickered ominously, threatening to extinguish completely as Jenna's grip on reality began to slip. What if the darkness was right? What if Tyler truly preferred the shadows? In that painful moment of choice, Jenna felt the last shreds of her hope tethered to the figure growing clearer, drawing closer but shrouded in the shivering darkness around it. Questions raced through her mind, fueling her fear and resolve. Was it Tyler? Could she really save him? Jenna's thoughts were interrupted as the entity roared, its shadowy form coiling tighter, ready to unleash chaos. Turn back, Jenna. You can't withstand the truth of your choices. Clenching her fists, Jenna steeled herself. She had to know the truth, had to face whatever was lurking in that unforgiving light. But as she took one more step, the shadows closed in around her, enveloping her in a frigid embrace. Just give in. They whispered, 100 voices echoing in the dark. But just before everything went black, she saw the child's face clearly one last time, a face she knew and loved more than anything. Then silence. What awaited her when all the light faded? Would she find Tyler, or had she lost him forever? And was the darkness truly calling to him, or was it only a reflection of her own fears? The darkness enveloped Jenna, a cold shroud that tightened around her limbs, squeezing the breath from her lungs. The weight of silence pressed hard, suffocating her will. It was as if the shadows, hungry and sharp, had teeth. They gnawed at her mind, whispering doubts, memories twisted into nightmares that made her feel sick. "Where are you?" she croaked into the void. Her voice broke the silence, but the only answer was the echo of her own words, circling back like a taunt. "Tyler." She blinked, trying to pierce through the darkness. Panic surged, an electric jolt coursing through her. Was this the end? Would she really face eternity in this wretched blackness? Just as desperation surged, the flicker of light burst back to life, not the gentle glow that had beckoned before, but a harsh glare, piercing and unyielding. As Jenna squinted, images began to unfold within that light. Distorted visions of children, faces marred by fear. A playground shrouded in fog, swings swaying eerily with no one pushing them. A child's laugh turned to silence just before it shattered. "Mom!" The familiar cry twisted through the air, chilling her blood. "Help me! Tyler!" She screamed, feeling herself pulled toward the light. It was a pull she could not resist. It felt like a lifeline. She stumbled forward, only for the darkness to surge around her. Tendrils snaked through the light, trying to snuff it out, chasing after her, dragging her back with an unrelenting grip. "Join us," they chanted together, a chorus of voices dripping with malice. "Forget him. You'll be happier." "No." She spat, forcing herself to keep moving through the chaos, the weight of the shadows pushing against her. "I won't abandon him." With every step, Jenna fought against the tide of despair, ignoring the echoes of children lost and laughter twisted into screams. The faces lingered, begging her to turn back, to surrender. "Don't you see? He's one of us now." She winced, momentarily doubting herself. What if? Could he truly have chosen this? The howls of the lost encircled her like wolves, each cry a reminder of the darkness that waited, promising freedom from pain. But then, in the heart of turmoil, she saw him, Tyler, his small frame illuminated in that searing light. He stood there, arms stretched wide, a mixture of pleading and fear etched across his young face. Tears streamed down his cheeks, glistening like beads of hope in a void of despair. "Mom, it hurts. It's dark. Help me. Hold on, sweetheart." She cried out, desperation clawing at her throat. Jenna pushed forward, fighting with every ounce of strength she had, feeling the shadows claw at her back, dragging her down. "I'm coming. Just hold on." Suddenly, the light pulsed violently, and she was thrown back as power surged through the air. It flickered like a heartbeat, the shadows recoiling. The laughter morphed into howls of rage. "You cannot win. We won't let you take him." But Jenna pressed on. Her resolve solidified, adrenaline surging through her veins. This was about more than just her son. It was about facing the terror, confronting the darkness that had haunted her. With one final push, she surged into the light, and as she did, the world shifted. The shadows wailed, retreating momentarily, and she felt a warm hand, small, fragile, and trembling, gripping hers. "Tyler." She gasped, relief washing over her like a tidal wave, but before she could fully embrace him, the ground trembled, the light flickered ominously again, and the shadows lunged, eager to reclaim their prize. The entity reared back, roaring with fury, its shadowy form twisting and coiling. "You think you can take him? You think you can escape?" Jenna looked down at Tyler, whose eyes were wide with terror. She felt the connection, the love fueling her strength. "Stay close, Ty. Don't let go." But just as she felt the shadows loosen their grip briefly, an icy hand shot out from the darkness, gripping her ankle, yanking her back into its cold embrace. "Mom!" Tyler shrieked, panic flooding his eyes. Jenna felt the warm light fade as she was swept deeper into the abyss, her heart racing and the cold tightening around her. Was she losing him again? Would she ever break free from this nightmare? And then she heard it, an echo of laughter that wasn't the shadows. It was Tyler S., mingling with that other, darker laughter, creating a sinister symphony. What vile creatures lurked behind that laughter? Would Jenna's desperation be enough to forestall their horrifying plans, or had she plunged them both into a deeper nightmare? As darkness threatened to consume her, she realized the terrifying truth: they had only just begun to fight. The shadows closed in around Jenna, a suffocating blanket of terror. She thrashed against the ground, panic clawing at her mind. The icy grip on her ankle tightened, dragging her back toward the void. Tyler's frantic screams echoed in her ears, the haunting sound slicing through the obscurity like glass. "Let him go!" she shrieked, desperation ripping through her voice. She dug her fingers into the rough, cold surface beneath her, but the pull grew stronger, more insistent. Suddenly, a flash of brilliance lit the engulfing dark. Jenna blinked against it, her heart pounding with frantic hope. She caught a glimpse of a shadow creature, its shape both shifting and rigid, looming over her. The very essence of darkness, it seemed to pulsate with malice. It leaned closer, its hollow eyes fixing on her with a chilling intensity. "Join us," it hissed, a voice that vibrated through her soul, stripping her of courage. "He has already made his choice." "Tyler!" she screamed again, embers of fear igniting her resolve. "You're stronger than this. Fight it." But the shadows hissed, wrapping tighter around her, whispering secrets meant to undo her will. "His laughter is our call, our bond, you'll join him soon." Just as Jenna felt herself slipping, another burst of light erupted around them. A shard of pure energy penetrated the darkness, temporarily scattering the shadows like cockroaches exposed to bright daylight. Tyler's frightened eyes met hers, wide with uncertainty. "Mom, help me." She lunged, her hand reaching out, but movement was slow, the darkness thickening again like mist curling around her limbs. "Mom, don't!" Tyler's words caught on a sob, the fear in his gaze deepening, reflecting her own turmoil. "Stay with me," she cried, a surge of adrenaline pushing her forward. The shadows shrieked, infuriated, as she strained against their hold. A bright line of energy coiled between them, snapping and crackling as if seeking to bridge the chasm of despair. Then she noticed it, a glimmer beneath the shadows. A figure, shrouded in darkness, yet somehow serene. It floated above the chaos, skeletal hands stretching down as if calling to Tyler. A deceptive sweetness hovered in the air, a false promise. Jenna's heart sank. "Don't listen to them. Join us," the figure cooed, its voice dripping with honeyed malice, wanting to draw him closer, away from her reach. Tyler hesitated, uncertainty flashing on his face. The golden energy flickered around Jenna, fading. "Don't doubt," she shouted, forcing herself to stay grounded. "Trust in me. You're not alone." A flicker sparked behind Tyler's gaze, but the figure laughed, a chilling sound that twisted at her heart. "You are outnumbered. Love cannot save you here." "Maybe not," Jenna gasped, a flood of thoughts crashing against her skull. "But love is powerful. And I won't fail him again." With that, she reached deeper into herself, pulling every thread of her being into the brightness, channeling all her fears and hopes. The light erupted again, blinding and intense. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled, shrieking as if struck by a physical blow. It was enough. For a brief moment, she felt the chill of Tyler's small hand against hers, a fire reigniting their connection. "Mom!" he called out, closer now. But as quickly as she found him, the darkness surged back, more furious than before. "No!" Jenna howled, panic clawing at her throat as she felt the icy grasp return, seizing Tyler's other leg, dragging him down. Jenna strained, the pull threatening to tear them apart once more. "You have to believe, Tyler. Just hold on." The world trembled again, a tremor sweeping through both the darkness and light, swirling forcefully around them. Then, without warning, a bone-chilling silence fell. The shadows whispered, "It's time to choose. Submit, or suffer." A fearsome gust of wind spiraled through the void, carrying with it the echoes of laughing children, taunting them from the recesses of the dark. "I will find you," she vowed, a promise stitched with fury and love. But as her voice faded into the chilling void, Jenna realized the shadows thrived on. Fear, feeding on doubts, reveling in despair, and then, she felt it a chilling sensation creep up her spine. The entity hovered closer, venomous whispers slithering into her ears. "What makes you think you're the first to try? You'll fail, just like the rest." The shadows tightened around her, a noose ready to claim its prize. What horrors awaited in the dark corners of the abyss? Would Jenna's fierce love be enough to slice through the agony of separation? Or had she made a desperate move that could seal their fates forever? The silence shattered in a cacophony of shadows swirling around Jenna. It felt alive, thrumming with anticipation and dread. As Tyler's cries reverberated in her mind, Jenna stood firm, gripping onto hope with every ounce of strength she had left. She couldn't let the shadows swallow them both. "Tyler! Stay with me. I'm right here," she shouted into the dark, her voice fierce and unwavering. With her heart pounding like a war drum, she faced the swirling chaos, determined to fight back. The shadows twisted tighter, and the chilling whispers crowded her thoughts. "You can't save him, Jenna. He belongs to us now," they taunted, their tones dripping with mockery. But the love she felt for Tyler surged fiercely within her, igniting a fire she thought long extinguished. Jenna clenched her fists, feeling the warmth of that love radiate from her core. "Love is enough. I won't lose him. I will fight for him." In her mind, she focused on his laughter, memories of their time together, his tiny hands clutching hers, his joyous giggles as they played in the park, the sound of his voice saying, "I love you, Mommy." Each recollection fueled her resolve, lighting the darkness around her like a flame. With each word, the shadows reared back, their taunts turning to hisses of rage. Seizing the moment, Jenna pushed forward, a fierce force flaring within her. "I am not afraid of you," she shouted, her voice echoing through the void. "Tyler needs me, and I won't abandon him." The ground trembled beneath her feet, a war brewing between light and dark. Jenna steeled herself and lunged toward the flicker of illumination that danced ahead, each heartbeat thumping in concert with her determination. "Mom!" Tyler's voice resonated, clearer this time, filled with a newfound strength. She knew he was still close, still fighting. She wouldn't let the shadows win, but as she crossed the threshold into the light, the shadows struck back with a fury. They slashed at her with cold tendrils, grasping at her limbs, yanking her back toward the darkness. "You can't leave. Join us!" they shouted, their voices overlapping in an eerie symphony of despair. "Get away from me! Get away from him!" Jenna roared, casting her arms wide, channeling all the love and determination she felt into a powerful wave of energy. With one final surge, she shouted, "I choose you, my son. I will always choose you." The light exploded, enveloping her in a radiant embrace. For an exhilarating moment, she felt the shadows dissipate, shrieking in fury as the energy pulsed through her. The darkness was forced back, retreating from the onslaught like a tide pulled from the shore. Jenna plunged forward, her heart racing, and for one precious instant, she felt Tyler's small hand slip into hers. Hope blossomed inside her. "Tyler!" she exclaimed, tears of joy mingling with fear. But, just as quickly, shadows surged back, angry and vengeful. "Let him go!" Jenna cried, fighting against the grasping shadows as they tried to pull him back. Tyler's face swam into view, caught between the light and dark, desperation etching his features. "Mom! Help me!" With every ounce of her being, Jenna fought back against the creeping darkness. "You have the strength to break free. Reach for me." Their eyes locked, and Jenna poured her spirit into her pleading gaze, willing Tyler to trust in their bond. Even as the shadows screeched and closed in, Tyler took a trembling step forward, responding to her call. "Mom!" He shouted once more, the fear tightening around him gradually lifting. Suddenly, the shadows shivered as if repelled by something deep and powerful. Love and will intertwined, like a protective barrier surrounding them. Tyler surged forward, his small feet pounding towards her, his little arms outstretched. "Mom!" He lunged toward her, and the moment their hands clasped, a brilliant flash erupted, blinding and white-hot. The shadows screamed in agony as the light enveloped them both, pushing the darkness away. Jenna wrapped her arms around her son, the warmth washing over them like a soothing balm. "I found you, Tyler. I'm here," she whispered, the weight of all her fears falling away. As the blinding light faded, they stood together in the center of a serene, sunlit meadow. The distant laughter of children rang in the air, mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves. They were free from the clutches of darkness, the shadows dissipating like smoke in the light. Tyler looked up at her, eyes bright with relief. "Mom, I was so scared." "I know, sweetheart. But you're safe now." "We're together," Jenna said, her own tears of joy streaming uncontrollably down her cheeks. As they embraced tightly, Jenna felt the crushing weight of her fear lift for the first time. "Together, forever," she promised, holding him close. The darkness had tried to ensnare them, to tear them apart, but their bond had proven stronger. Whatever nightmares lay ahead, they would face them together, united in love. "Let us go home, Ty," Jenna said softly, her heart lighter than ever, and as they turned toward the path ahead, Jenna knew they had triumphed over the shadows, reclaiming not just Tyler's safety, but a future woven with light. "Now, it's your turn to take action. Don't let this moment slip away." Subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.